Right, here we go. Hobby Nightmares time. Hope you're all doing well. I have about half an hour, checking my watch, about half an hour until my next class. So I'm going to jump on in this very busy week and do some Hobby Nightmares because we can't miss them out. That's not how this works. We get on it, we do some more Hobby Nightmares. Let's jump in with Anziquam. He calls himself. Okay, weird name, but there we go. He says, "Hello North, Anziquam here, and you can call me Anziquam. I've been listening to your channel for a while now and really appreciate all the reading of stories you do. It's a good listen while I'm working. I thought I would share these two stories. Apologies in advance with any mistakes grammatically or with spelling. Both get away from me at times. But here we go. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I only realised how much I actually do my own spelling mistakes yesterday when I was working quite quickly in a cafe, trying to get things marked and writing down notes and stuff. It's like, good lord, like, Google Docs doesn't half save me from a lot of my own spelling mistakes. But there we go. Story number 1. This was one of the first 40k tournaments I had been to, if not the first. I don't like travel, and I'm extremely awkward around groups of people. Well, you did a very brave thing going to a 40k tournament, mate. Hosting Exile Fest just made me realise how much of a big deal it is for people. You know, it is daunting. Very, very, very daunting. But anyway, after being persuaded to attend, I set out about getting the list together and painting up the last of my models. Happy with the finished product finally, I went to print the list off. To my annoyance, the printer decided to pack up. I assume you mean paper printer, not 3D printer. With no other option, I had to write up the list 6 times. This tournament was before you could submit lists online. Anyway, several hours of travel later, I arrive at where the tournament is to take place. More people than I had ever envisioned, so my anxiety decided to kick right back in. Nervously, I handed in my list, and I was assured, after I looked at it, it was perfectly fine. The game started, and I had a good time with the tournament, and I did show that provided dice were being thrown, I could lose myself in the game and forget the fact that I was surrounded by lots of people that I in fact did not know. It was at the end of the first game that the problem started, however. Like most tournaments, armies had to be painted, which is completely understandable, and my army was painted. Well, I was approached by one of the guys running the tournament and was told that there would be a unit in my army that did not fit with the colour scheme of my army, and some models were not painted. I wasn't expecting that, as I had painted everything and the colour scheme of my army was following the scheme in the codex. Tau, if you're interested. So he's telling you that one of your units doesn't match the colour scheme of the rest of your army, so it's not painted. What? Guys, is this a thing? Is this actually a thing? Can you go to a tournament and say I paint all my Tau blue and then was one unit that's red? Am I all of a sudden breaking the rules? When I asked for clarification, he came over to my army and it came down to the fact that my stealth suits were in black armour rather than the tan of the rest of the army. And my Remora drones were not properly based. Despite my explanation and me pointing out that the stealth suits are black in the codex even when the army is tan and the Remora drones were on see-through bases, I was told I would be docked 20 points from the tournament unless I could fix the discrepancies, quote unquote, by the following day. And I would not be allowed to field them. Dude, do people think Horus Heresy players are bad? I don't know of a Horus Heresy group that would do stuff like this. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, right? I have no clue at all what kind of Horus Heresy group would do this. And I know some sweaty Horus Heresy groups. I've never heard of stuff like this. Does this happen in some 40k circle? Come on, tell me. I need to know. Comment section, let me know. I'm going to take a sip of my tea before I start coughing. There we go. Yeah, so let me know. Does this actually happen or not? Let me know. Right, moving on. As a result, I don't remember much of the rest of the day. I got to my hotel room and got to trying to fix the problems. Turning up the next day, somewhat tired after a night's work of repainting several units of models, to my annoyance, my army isn't looked at again. The final games go by and I managed to finish 9th. Or I would have finished 9th. When I looked at the rankings, it turns out I was docked another 20 points from the tournament because the list I handed in was handwritten. This was not handwritten in the rules pack, So, on the journey home, I was feeling fairly put out by tournaments. It took a while to be persuaded to go to any others. Dude, you made the mistake of repainting your models, right? Look at it as time saved. I know you've already gone to the tournament, okay? But if you go to a tournament and they act this way, leave before the second day and look at it as time saved. You're now going home early. You got a free day to do what you want with. Dude, your models are your models. If they're painted, they're good enough to be at the tournament. I'm sorry, they just are. Unless you're at a top tournament, I'm talking, you know, grand tournament style, or something ran by Games Workshop, you need your models painted. You know, the Exile Fest rules were basically, as long as your army is undercoated, you know, it's fine. And most people had fully painted armies when they were there. Yeah, some of this, dude, just rubs me up the wrong way. You should have left on night 1, dude. You should have just been like, you know what, screw these people. Got back in your car, gone home, and chilled out. That should have been your weekend. You know, don't repaint your own models because of what they tell you to do. Do not do that. The second nightmare, the next involves an older player, or at least 30 years older than I was at the time. This was 5th edition, and I was playing Chaos Space Marines, and in the first game I came across this old man with his incredibly sweaty Grey Knights army. Oh yeah, Grey Knights back then, dude. He was using Cotias, and at the time, Cotias allowed you to fill out your troop choices with Inquisitorial henchmen. This being 5th edition, you needed 1 HQ and 2 troops to have the beginnings of an army. Well, the thing with the henchman squads is that they could be fielded in squads between 3 and 12 men, and if upgraded, could only cost 4 points each. So, I came face to face with 6 Razorbacks with twin-linked assault cannons, and then 6 dreadnoughts, 3 veterans, 3 normal, armed with 2 twin autocannons and Cybolt ammunition. This upgrades the strength of the gun to 8. Dude, he hasn't got any Grey Knights on there. This isn't a Grey Knight army. If you're just using dreadnoughts, even if they're painted Grey Knights, this is not a Grey Knight army. If you don't have any strike squads or Terminators, you're not playing Grey Knights. Sorry. You may paint them as Grey Knights, but they're not Grey Knights. And just a hard and fast rule I have. I've known people who've done this. They have like 3 or 4 Land Raiders, and then they get Dreadnoughts because they're in the meta. They say, right, it's my Grey Knight list. No, it's not. Nope. Nope, I just won't play. You're not playing Grey Knights. Because by your list, I know you're not the kind of player I want to play. Do you know what I mean? I've been quite harsh. I've not been nasty to people before, but I've seen armies in the game store, and I said, yeah, you know, when they say, oh yeah, do you want a game? No, not really, man. You know, why? Well, you're playing Grey Knights, right? Yeah. Well, I don't think you are. You're playing Dreadnoughts and Land Raiders, and I have nothing that can touch that, number one. And even if I did, I still wouldn't play you because I think we're playing the game for different reasons. Again, both valid reasons. You're playing to win, right? And I'm playing to have fun. Both completely valid reasons. I'm not saying you're a bad person for playing that way, but that's not the kind of game I want to play, right? Normal. Awesome. Anyway, we roll off and I set up my army first, and then he sets his army up. Then I would get to go first unless he could seize the initiative, which of course he does, and rolls a 6. Cotias has a special rule that would allow him to re-roll the seize roll. So this guy... Oh, so you said he rolled a 6 first. Okay, forget that then. Cotias has a special rule that would allow him to re-roll the seize roll. So when this guy rolls 2 dice, and one of them is a 4, and the other one a sheep's head, he then starts moving his models. I ask him, why are you moving your models? He replies, I seized, I rolled a 6. I question this because firstly, I was unaware that the game had begun. He didn't say that he was rolling to seize, and secondly, seize only uses 1 dice. And thirdly, where's the 6? He said, oh, well, that's why I rolled the 2 dice. Cotias allows me to roll the failed dice attempts, and that sheep's head is a 6. Yeah, that's not how it works. You get him to re-roll it. You re-roll them one at a time. You roll to seize, and if you fail, then you roll another dice. I was slightly perplexed at this, so I asked why he rolled 2 dice. He said, well, the odds are the same rolling 2 dice and getting at least 1 6 as rolling and re-rolling if you fail. No, it isn't. It's a very weird thing, I know. It's a very weird thing, but ask anybody who plays it. No, it isn't. Right? I know it's strange. I know it's strange. Right? But the way the dice interact with your hand, smacking off of each other, right? They hit each other when you hit the table. You have a higher chance of rolling a 6 with 2 dice than you do with 1. That's just an empirical fact, right? It's the way they knock against each other in your hand. They knock against each other on the table, and then they settle on the number, right? 1 dice doesn't do that. So yeah, you have a better chance of being knocked onto a 6 than you do. Anyway, enough of me and my stupid probability thoughts. Me. Well, the odds may be the same, but the action isn't, and the rules specifically state that you re-roll, not roll 2 dice and pick the highest number. Him. Well, I'll do it this way to save time. Look, it's exactly the same thing, I tell you. I'm a maths lecturer. Well, he should know better then, shouldn't he? That last comment really got me in a wrong headspace. Prior to the tournament, I had just left university, dropping from my course, because of health issues. Dude, okay, I may be wrong on the odds thing, right? But I only know this. I'm going to take another sip of coffee, one sec. I only know this because my friend Matt, who was at Exile Fest, right? He is a very good mathematician, right? He's a physicist, right, and a data scientist. So he's really, really, really good at maths. And I tried to do something like this with my dice once, just because I don't know why I did it. I think I was just trying to save time because there were lots of saves going on. And he said, "No, I'm really sorry, but we do have to do them one at a time because they're for each of these dudes, and I think it was like for a sergeant and this and that, one of those situations." And he said, no, we got to do it one at a time. And I said, why? I'll pick a different colored dice. He goes, well, the probability is, it does change the probability. It says do it one at a time because the rules are written that way for a reason, right? Because you've got a higher chance of getting higher numbers if you roll more, Anyway. It's only needed like 1 6 and I had like 5 dice. And he's like, yeah, you've got a much higher probability. Just do it one at a time. Anyway, so that's why I've got that in my head. That last comment really got me in a wrong headspace. Prior to the tournament, I had just left university, dropping from my course because of health issues. Mathematics being the course I was pursuing. So not caring that much about the game now, I asked him to show me his dice. He had already picked up the dice he had rolled, and he showed me he showed me one of his die. Indeed, on the die the sheep's head was in the place of a 6. So I gave up and let him take his turn. He finishes his movement phase, and then his shooting phase, he proceeds to annihilate my army. Wow, good luck on his part, bad luck on mine. The last straw, however, is that his last dreadnought, he rolls the hit and rolls 4 sheep's heads and declares, lucky for me, the autocannons are twin-linked. I ask, why? You just got 4 6s. He then said, well, no, actually, those were sheep's heads with 1s. What? Showing me the dice, and indeed, they were. It turns out he had dice that was some of them were sheep's head was in place of a 1, and the other ones, the sheep's head was in place of a 6. Dude, that's so shitty. That's so shitty. So basically, he can use, like, if he needs a certain number, if he needs a 6, right, he can have, like, 2 or 3, oh my god, yeah. And he has loads of dice, he can basically just double up, can't he? Right, so now, if he gets a 1 or a 6, he rolls a 6, if you know what I'm saying, right? If he needs 2 or 3 6s in a big roll, he can mix these up together in his hand, roll them, right? And because you think the sheep's head is a 6, he could roll 3 1s and 1 6, and he's really rolled 4 6s in your mind because you're what you're looking at, and so is he. Wow. He's kind of told on himself here as well, because he's then gone, oh, well, lucky they're all twin-linked, you know what I mean? I bet you as soon as he said that, he was kicking himself. Either that or he's not cheating, and it just looks really dodgy. Anyway, by this point, I had 1 unit of Khorne Berserkers left. On my turn, I then said, well, good game, not actually meaning it, and packed up to spend the next few hours trying to get my head straight for the next game, hoping that my next opponent wouldn't be the same. I don't know if he was actually cheating, but the experience left me somewhat of a hatred towards dice with swap dots out for a symbol. Cheers. I'm the same, man. I don't like him. How do you guys feel about dice that have the 6 or the 1 swapped out for a symbol? I honestly don't like them. I have a hatred for the old Death Guard dice. Remember those? Mainly because they came out when I was managing a store. The amount of times I had to adjudicate a game because people were like, dude, I can't even tell what he's rolling. Because these stupid Death Guard dice with like the nodules on them. Yeah, I hate it, man. I'm not a big fan of them whatsoever. Anyway, let's get to our second hobby nightmare, shall we? He says, "Hey North, please call me by my nickname Mushy, or Mush for short. I have been really enjoying the channel and getting some laughs from it. Thank you, man. To introduce myself and share my background, I live in Perth, Australia, the most remote city on the planet. I am 38, happily married with 4 beautiful kids. I'm one of those people who have varied interests but don't necessarily fit into any specific category. I am a nerd, but also have normie interests. I am also a churchgoer and participator." That's fine, man. "I work as a healthcare clinician and have seen death and handled many emergencies. Fortunately, I now work in a consulting capacity, so I don't have to bring the stress home anymore. Not a place where nerds typically work, I know. Healthcare workers, though, are great people. They care immensely about the people they care for. Much like the NHS in the UK, healthcare in Australia is propped up by the goodwill of all healthcare professionals. We may seem calloused at times, but that is particularly a self-defense mechanism, but we are tired and many times sick of people's crap. Both literally and figuratively. I have seen the humanity, I've seen it all. An amusing story is a furry presented to a hospital with a bowling pin lodged in his backside. When I say backside, I mean the hole. And his partner tried to extract it with tongs, only for the tongs to disappear up there as well. The patient was fine, but did request the items back on discharge." Okay, there are some absolute creatures out there, and I will say that. A not so amusing story is assisting transporting a 300 kilogram plus patient, approximately 47 stone or 660 pounds, to the zoo as he won't fit into a human MRI. Dude, where were you, Kansas? Dude, if I'm the zookeeper, I'm taking the piss out of this guy. I'm ripping the piss out of him if I'm the zookeeper. Because you can. Right? It's not you're doing them a favour. Say, oh, here he comes. Just give it all that. If you're like, unless you have some sort, okay, I apologise if this person had like a glandular problem or a hormone imbalance or something medical that caused them to be this way. But if you're like this because you eat lots, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Alright? Literally go fuck yourself. You'll lose weight. I'm serious. Like, again, mental issues, no problem with you on that one. If you eat because you're unhappy and you're unhappy because you eat, if you know the movie, good for you. Right? I get that too. Right? But I've known some fat bastards in my time who are literally just fat bastards. They're fat and the bastards. Right? You're just... They're not mentally struggling. They're not, they're not, don't have any sort of health issues that aren't brought on by their massive pounds of flesh. They're literally just dickheads who drink a lot and eat a lot. And they get really fat, and then they get really bitter about being fat, and then they take it out on other people. So this is why when I see somebody this obese, this fat, I'm like, dude, go fuck yourself. You are a drain on society. Like, literally, the NHS looks at you and abhors you. They hate your guts. Right? Now, again, if you have some sort of issue that's made you that way, all my sympathy in the world. And again, any doctor or nurse will feel the same way. They'll go, oh my god, you poor thing, let's get you sorted, right? But if you're just a fat bastard, and you take up the NHS's time, go fuck yourself. Absolutely. Or if you're one of those people who's dead fat and you go on a plane full of people, and you don't buy the seat next to you, you're a bastard. You really are. Like if you've made yourself that way and you go on a plane and you spill over into my seat, like you're sitting on my lap with your fat ass, you bet your ass I'm going to say something. Alright? I'm going to ask to be moved very loudly. I'm going to be, excuse me. Yeah, can I sit somewhere else, please? Because I don't actually have a full seat here. Mr. 47 Stone, right? Again. That might seem really dickheadish of me, but, like, nah, man. Nah. Because if you had a serious health problem, you wouldn't be flying. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? I knew one guy at a Games Workshop who was a really fat dude. And he was around, you know, a good 40-odd stone. He was massive. Massive dude. He had a wheelchair and everything. Anyway, he actually had a problem. He actually had something going on with him. Like, I think it was like some sort of hormone imbalance that he had going on. That he was trying to fix with all sorts of... Do you know what it was? I think he had prostate cancer or something. And he had to take estrogen to lower down his testosterone. And it basically just fucked him up, basically, right? And he was now he'd gone through therapy. He was trying to get it all sorted again. I think that's what it was. Anyway, he actually told me, yeah, I can't fly because of my weight. It's a huge risk to fly because of my weight. So I can't, even if I wanted to. I would go and buy 2 seats to sit on both seats, but I can't. It's really, really, really high risk. And, you know, he said also I'm a drain on resources and this and that. I just can't fly. So if I see somebody that massive on a flight, I'm judging them. Going, yeah, dude, even if you have something wrong with you, you know you shouldn't be flying. You know you shouldn't be here. You're a massive health risk. Anyway. Now that I've run off all the fatties... Dude, I'm such a dickhead, man. I'm such a dickhead. What's going on? North woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, it seems. I would like to share a story. Okay, we're there now. Brilliant. Like you and many others, I'm a nerd, though maybe not the typical kind, as I have plenty of interests outside of the nerd world. For example, I am an Aston Villa supporter. Why? The club once provided much appreciated support to a hearing clinic my son attends. Oh, okay. And we have a photo with him with Steven Gerrard. Yeah. Hope you burnt it. Ugh. You had a photo with Steven Gerrard, and you're proud of that? Jesus. That's like getting a photo with Jimmy Savile. Anyway. And we have a photo of him with Steven Gerrard, from which we also got to watch a game for free. This came at a time where I didn't know which team to support, as I didn't want to jump into the bandwagon of Man United, Liverpool, or Spurs. Yeah, dude, the Spurs supporting thing, I don't get. I don't get it. So many people outside of the UK support Tottenham Hotspur. I don't understand. They won the Europa League last season, but let's be honest, even Spuds fans will say, fucking shite. Right? They're literally... Dude, Everton have won more trophies in the past than Spurs. We are more successful. In fact, Everton, trophies. Okay, and I'm going to go... I don't want to say I'm wrong or I'm right. Tottenham trophies. Right. Okay, so Everton have won 9 Premier League titles. Tottenham have won 2 Premier League titles. Everton have won 5 FA Cups. Tottenham have won 8 FA Cups, fair enough. Tottenham have won 1 European Cup Winners' Cup. We've won 1 European Cup Winners' Cup. Oh, they've won 3 Europa Leagues. Alright, so they've won more European trophies than we have. That's probably why. But in terms of English dominance and being champions of England, like they're not close to us. I don't know why people support Spurs. No idea. Anyway, maybe Australian players? Are there Australian players in Spurs? Not that I remember. Ange, maybe? He used to manage them a little while ago. Anyway, the reason for this intro is that my hobby nightmare relates to my non-hobby interest. Cars. Think Fast and Furious and the anime Initial D. I thought I'd write something a little different for your channel. While I have plenty of wargaming stories, for which I play 40k and Bolt Action. I hope you enjoy. Everything written here is true. This is a story of when I went to court. Ooh! You got in trouble! To explain the car subculture, The car culture is fueled by a deep passion for tuning and the thrill of racing, where every bolt turned and every modification made is a declaration of love for the machine on the road. No, I don't collect the Mechanicus. Inspired by legends like Fast and the Furious franchise and the initial D anime. It's a world where cars become more than just metal and rubber. They're a canvas for creativity and adrenaline. The community thrives in the excitement of late night meetups, the roar of engines, the stew of turbos. You literally wrote the sound effect. That's adorable. I can imagine you sitting there going on your desk. That's hilarious. Of turbos and the challenge of pushing both driver and car to their limits, all while sharing a bong with others who live for the thrill of the speed. Driving under the influence. You gotta love it. However, the car culture has its own stereotypes. Meatheads, reckless troublemakers, people who base their whole personality on a car brand. Dude, this is like Games Workshop people. These are literally Games Workshop stereotypes, but who drive cars. Like tabletop gaming, certain car makes and models come with their own reputations. I was, and still am, a racer, meaning I love Japanese cars. That's so Australian. That Australians don't know when they're being racist, and it's adorable. Ah, g'day, mate. You're driving a racer? It's a Japanese car? Yeah, I like it, man. It's alright. My preference is the Nissan Skyline series. Oh, I do like Nissan Skyline. I remember a video game, a Need for Speed Underground 2, where the Nissan Skyline was like the car. It's the car everybody wanted. Everybody wanted this car, right? Awesome. But you know what I used to do on that game? I always used to get like my family car because it was in the game. I think it was like a Volkswagen Polo, whatever it was. I'd get that and trick it out and make it as fast as I could. Like literally the same colour as the family car, and I'd drive that. The car in this story was my 1995 Nissan Skyline R33 GTST. All right, I'm gonna get a picture of that up so people can see what it is. Yes, I am doing this. He hasn't sent me a picture. I'm just gonna do this. Okay. There we go. Yeah, these are nice, man. These are nice cars. Alright. Let me save the old image there. I went with the autumn background because, you know, I like autumn. What's your favourite season? Let me know if you're still watching the video. What's your favourite season? Oh, by the way, speaking of football, I think I got shown today that the Switzerland women's team were facing Luzern under 15s, right? Do you want to see the score? So the Luzern under 15s, who are a random Swiss team, right? The under 15 men's team, 14-year-olds, faced the national Switzerland women's team. And my mate showed me this on Discord the other day. Here you go. There's a score. We should get paid the same as the men. No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. Alright, moving on. Right, here we go. Nissan Skyline. Bang. Done. Awesome stuff. It doesn't look as impressive as it used to, in my mind. Anyway. The car in this story was my 1995 Nissan Skyline R3 GTST. A 2.5-litre straight-six turbo, and as you'd expect, it was modded. This story takes place in 2007 and involves my friend Addy, the law, and a trip to court. At the time, I was 22, single, and living the dream with not a care in the world. I was part of a group of guys with performance cars. Our group leader, David, was basically a copy and paste of Han from Tokyo Drift, a great guy who helped me set up my car. I met him when he and some of my friends opened a store selling bolt-on car parts, and we became best friends. To this day, we still are. David drove an R30 Skyline. Addy, my housemate, whom I had known for several years, Addy drove a 1990 Nissan 300ZX, a 3-litre V6 twin-turbo. There were others in this group who drove various other performance cars. I won't discuss them further, as they played very little impact in this story. Dude, how are you all affording these cars? It was a wonderful time, and having a group of friends in this scene. We were relaxed and carefree. Late-night care cruises, in-depth discussions on where we should dump potentially thousands of dollars to make sure our car's at next level. It was a very expensive hobby. However, there was nothing like the feeling of planting your foot on the pedal, the engine revving, turbo spoiling, the kickback when the boost hits. He's done the sound effect again. The of the blow-off valve, all while blasting techno with your subwoofer in the boot. Before the story goes any further, I wish to stress that while we were rev heads, we never knowingly did anything stupid on public roads. Even on car cruises, we would behave ourselves to the best of our under 25-year selves to comply with the law. This was stressed very much so for car meets. However, once we left public roads and were in back roads or very unlikely to see another car, we would rip up. One day, David and I were discussing upgrades for my car. I needed a new exhaust, not because it was damaged, but for extra horsepower, and that glorious sound. After some discussion, I chose a 3-inch turbo black exhaust for $1,250. We knew a mechanic who gave us discounts, so we all got our cars modded there. This is where the nightmare began. The exhaust was installed and sounded amazing, especially with the... I'm not doing the sound effect again. I drove my Skyline, named Sophia. God, dude, I don't know whether to love you or just take the piss. Named Sophia. Oh, Sophia. To David's house, where Addy and the others were as well. Dude, you're not one of those guys who has sex with his car, are you? That's just kind of weird. After some banter, a quick spin to test the new exhaust, and more car talk, it was time to head home. Addy had his 300ZX, I had my R33 Skyline, and we lined up the traffic lights, exhaust humming. The light went green, and we drove off normally, but I realised I was kind of hungry. I sped up a little and drove alongside Addy and called out, "What do you want to do for dinner?" What followed was a very careless action. We drove alongside each other, discussing what we should have on this fine night. Without realising it, we were driving up to about 15 km per hour over the speed limit. As this was happening, we were greeted by the red and blue party lights. An undercover cop had lit up behind us. We pulled over, and within 30 seconds, 2 more cop cars arrived. Next thing I know, my hands were on the bonnet, being interrogated by Sergeant Graham. Big, bald, and clearly out to prove something. Now I have a lot of respect for police and what they deal with daily, and for the most part, they are great. One memory of how cool the police can be, here in my part of Australia, is when some church friends and I were dueling with combat-grade lightsabers in a car park. The police showed up after receiving a call about a disturbance, quote-unquote. There we were, knocking each other around, and then we heard a short burst from the police siren with the lights on. We stopped, scared we were going to be done for possessing a weapon or something. The police officer, alongside his partner, called out, "Hey dude, are you guys fighting with lightsabers?" Yeah, we are. Fuck yeah, can we have a go? I love it. What ensued were grown-ass men, some with uniform, bashing each other with lightsabers. The officers had a good time, but only stayed for 5 to 10 minutes. After all, they were on duty. We ended up getting some cool photos with these 2 officers. Back to the story. Sergeant Graham was different. He had a real chip on his shoulder, probably the school bully who peaked in high school, now getting his kicks as a cop. I was separated from Addy, but our stories matched. We weren't hooning. I don't know what that means. When I tried to explain, Sergeant Graham wagged his finger in my face. "Bullshit, you're lying," he said. I tried to protest, however, arguing with a police officer rarely gets a positive outcome in these situations. Dude, why do I have an image in my face of, what is the charge? Eating a meal? Why do I have that in my head? Get your hand off my penis! Anyway, Sergeant Graham was loud and obnoxious and clearly the most senior officer present. Being 3 police cars That meant there were 6 police officers present at this time, one of whom was a very pretty blonde officer. I don't remember her name, but she is important to this story. Dude, a woman in uniform, man. There's something about, all dudes will agree with me here, a woman in a place of authority, right, who's gorgeous. Nah, man. Nah. You lost me. You lost me. Good stuff. At this time, in Western Australia, Hoon laws had just been implemented. I don't know what that means. So our cars were impounded for 48 hours. We were placed into a paddy wagon, a police vehicle designed to transport criminals or suspects. Right, do you know why it's called a paddy wagon? My grandpa calls it this as well. Because of the Irish. Right? It's an Irish caravan. It's the back of a police car. Or a police van. We also call a cement mixer an Irish tumble dryer. Don't know why. We were placed into a paddy wagon, a police vehicle designed to transport criminals and suspects. Right, let me have a quick sip of tea. If you're not under arrest, though, I mean, it's not too bad. Anyway, we were taken to the station and purposely detained for about 3 hours while Sergeant Graham bragged about his catch of the night, quote unquote. He told us we could go once he finished the paperwork, which he was in no rush to do. Eventually we were released. We had to take a taxi home. We had to make the awkward call to our parent explaining what had happened. Adi, coming from Indonesia, copped an Asian-style beating from his dad over the phone, while my dad listened and channeled his inner Emperor Palpatine. Good, good. A couple of weeks later, we received letters in the mail. Both of us had lost our licenses for 6 months, unless we decided to take it to court. Adi and I decided, fuck this cop, let's get a lawyer. To reinforce what I said earlier, we weren't hooning. I'm not an angel as a driver, but we always picked our time and place for that usually secluded areas where the risk was minimised. On public roads, we were law-abiding, as was our whole group. Unfortunately, the subculture has a bad rep for disregarding road rules and public safety. It took us a while to find a lawyer willing to take our case, as we were young and considered a lost cause. We finally found a great lawyer, a car guy himself, with a typical lawyer Porsche. We answered all his questions, made our case, and he wrote his report. We informed the courts that we'd take the matter to trial. The police were also required to submit a report. Oh, they're gonna hate that. Because this police officer might have to go to court. He's gonna fucking hate this. This is such good revenge, man. He's gonna absolutely hate this. After some time, we were hand-delivered the police report by none other than this pretty blonde officer. Dude, ask her for a drink. She apologised for her superior's behaviour, explained that she was new to the force and wished us luck for the court proceedings. I never saw her again. Dude! You gotta shoot your shot, mate. Gotta shoot your shot. Like, a woman, gorgeous female blonde police officer. She's got a good career, a good head on her shoulders. Damn, man. At least say something. At least say something. Anyway. Reading the report, we were dumbfounded. The police described my car as white, it's silver. Listed as a R34 Skyline, it's an R33. And said Adi's car was an S14 Silvia. It's a 300ZX. The street was reported incorrectly, and the speed limit was listed as 60 km per hour when it was actually 70 km per hour. The speed limit detail is important, as we were alleged to have been driving at 85 km per hour in a 60 km per hour area. Yeah, dude, that's true. This would have put us 25 km an hour over the speed limit, or license losing territory. Remember, we were only about 15 km an hour over. The police didn't breathalyze us or have any evidence of speeding outside of the police report. No documented evidence of a speed camera used. We were asked by the lawyer to gather what evidence we could to support our defence. We took photos of the speed limit, the street where we were pulled over, what our cars were, and we also asked to provide our version of events. The lawyer cost us about $3,000 up front. That's quite cheap for a lawyer. Dude, ASCII Man G, that's quite cheap for a lawyer. Court day arrived, and we arrived early at the magistrate's court $750 an hour for our lawyer. We dressed well. I even got a haircut. We waited 3 hours for our turn, during which our lawyer asked us what mods he should install on his Porsche for the track. Dude, there's nothing more powerful in this world, right? If you're a wargamer, go and find yourself that unicorn lawyer who is also a wargamer. They will go to bat. Do you know what I mean? They will be literally... This is what they've done. They found a car guy who's also a lawyer, right? All of the good lawyers in stories like this always seem to be into the hobby that they're representing. They're like, all right, yeah, I'm taking this on, right? Even if I lose, this is going to be interesting, right? Our turn came, and the police didn't show up. The judge was not impressed. Our lawyer presented an updated report detailing the inconsistencies in Sergeant Graham's report. The judge listened and ruled the case be moved to another day. We were really pissed, but our lawyer said this was actually good. If the police don't show, it means they haven't done their job. Still, it means waiting another 4 to 6 months. 4 to 6 months later, round 2. This time, the bastard actually showed up, but without the chip on his shoulder. He looked really nervous. Yeah, do you know what? He's been bollocked. I'm telling you what, he's been bollocked. He's been... You know, by the way, you still didn't have your license back, so they got what they wanted. He did that on purpose. He didn't show up on purpose because he knew it'd be a few months before they go back again. So you still didn't have your cars. 4 to 6 months later, round 2. This time the bastard turned up, but without the chip on his shoulder, and he looked really nervous. David and the crew turned up for support, as did my parents. My mum looked at me as if to say, where did I go wrong? My dad, on the other hand, was loving it. What I expected was a lecture from him in Spanish. Instead, I got the silent Spanish dad nod. Yeah, dude, the nod. The nod. Dude, when your dad gives you the nod, you know what I mean. I'm proud of you, son. That's all you're getting. Like the nod. There you go. That's all you're getting. That is my love for this year done. We walked in, rose for the judge, and pleaded not guilty to hooning, a criminal offence, but guilty to careless driving. Sergeant Graham made his case, spouting his report. Our lawyer presented photos of our cars, a map of the area, and photos of the speed limit. He asked what proof the police had of speeding or hooning. Graham had nothing except, well, in my experience. The judge dressed down Sergeant Graham professionally, stating that he had not presented any evidence and that the report was indeed full of inconsistencies. He had acted unprofessionally and, unbeknownst to us, the judge had received another report detailing this officer's conduct. From the blonde officer, maybe another officer, we'll never know. The judge ruled in our favour and ordered WA Police to pay all of our legal fees. He told us to be more careful and reminded us that cars are not toys. We got a slap on the wrist, a careless driving sentence, a traffic infringement, not a criminal one, a $200 fine, and 4 demerit points. In Australia, once you accumulate 12 demerit points, you lose your licence for 3 months. So, we had won. I love telling the story about how we beat the police. I'll never forget the look on Sergeant Graham's face as he was dressed down, thinking that because we were young, we'd just blindly accept the bullshit he was pushing. Many years have passed from that time. Whilst I remain a big lover of performance cars and the thrill of it all, I'm now a father of 4, and like Brian O'Connor in Fast and the Furious 7, I now drive a 7-seater. Thank you for reading. Not your typical hobby nightmare, I know, but I hope you enjoyed something different. I did, man, that's brilliant. I just wish to add a heartfelt thank you for your efforts from a down-to-earth but no-crap approach to men's mental health. Being a healthcare worker in my field, I do see the brokenness in men very regularly. These men are the ones that society does forget about. It does, man. Yeah. It does. It's the reason why I kind of want to do Exile Fest more. Because I was thinking about doing an Exile Fest yearly, but doing Exile Fest this year kind of made me realise, like, the amount of you who would pull me aside at Exile Fest and were just like, dude, I really needed this. Do you know what I mean? The amount of you who did that, like, I don't think you all realise, if you came to Exile Fest, how many of you did this. Right? We hit double figures anyway. Of the 45 or so people who turned up over the day, right? We had about 20 people in the tournament, and then we had about you know, another 20 odd turning up and leaving during the day. Most of whom stayed downstairs, so I had to go running downstairs to say hello to people and take pictures and stuff and then come back up. But yeah, like, most of those people were like, yeah, dude, I needed this today, or like the channel is like a big rock for me, so I wanted to. One dude drove from Wolverhampton, right, not to play in the tournament. He turned up to the store for half an hour and then drove home again. That's like a 3-hour drive. He drove 3 hours to say hello, thank me for the channel, and then drive back again. Like, you know what I mean? And you know who you are. His name is Dave, so you know, not one of those Daves. But yeah, people do fall through the cracks. And this is why I'm going to do Exile Fest a lot more often, because I think it's needed, basically. In my experience, if you are a man and of working age, where you are not working due to mental health concerns, therefore not contributing, then society doesn't want anything to do with you. You can't save the world, but you can save one man's world. In my church community, we strongly believe that as brothers, it is our role to support and raise our brothers up, to have those conversations with each other. What I see you do is the same spirit. I pray that you reach a positive influence, and the positive influence continues to grow. Doesn't matter who or what you are, we all bleed the same beating heart. Once again, thank you, and to all who struggle with mental health, keep strong. There are people who care, even if you don't see it. God bless North, take care. P.S. I have a goal of one day attending an Exile Fest. Cheers. Yeah, dude, man, I mean, from Australia, that's going to be a hell of a trip, but, like, I'd love it. Absolutely. I would absolutely love it. We had a South African there last time, so no excuses. Get on the old plane. I'm only joking. Your money's your own. Do what you want with it. But if you want to come to... What I would do, come to England for something else and have Exile Fest around it. That's how a lot of the lads got away with it. They explain it to the missus as in, oh, I'm going to London for a few days. They would go to London for like 6 hours, then come to Exile Fest. Anyway, that'll be me for the day. I love you a long time. I'll speak to you tomorrow for some more 40k Advantage, where we're going to be discussing what your least favourite tabletop games are. Oh yeah, can be lots of ranting there. Love you all. Speak to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye now.